And my let me ask you this is not, it's really to go over Kevin's post. So it's kind of more of a discussion thing, not really a direct question. I guess the one question that I would derive from it I'll ask at the end, but we can go over Kevin's post first. So are we screen? If you want to show that, then I'll read it.
I just want to see if can I rewind it? Or?
This is one, I think it'll just start over.
Okay.
This is one of our
homies.
One of our OG followers. This is Kevin. We've talked about him a ton of times. He's an incredible guy. He's on a huge weight loss journey. He's lost over 200 pounds. It's really, really incredible. So I want to read this post here because I read it from Kevin yesterday. I thought that it was very, very good and really interesting. So obviously he's
just out there chopping wood.
Yeah, if you can't see this, he's chunking up some wood. He's chopping it up. He's getting after it. So this is what he says. I needed to get some frustration out and a workout in. So I went and chopped wood for an hour. I want to vent. Let me ask my American followers, who does America belong to? Who has the right to determine which direction it heads? Who gets to determine how our money is spent and how our military is used? The answer to all these is supposed to be we the people, but it no longer is. We all got lazy and cared more about how our favorite sports team was doing, or our favorite celebrity was dating, and we didn't pay attention to what our government was doing. We were distracted for far too long, and our country was taken over by psychopaths. Now we sit on the precipice of World War III, and for what? Our families will be sent off to war to die for something that does not benefit Americans. I wish people would stop caring what the TV or social media says and start paying attention to what our government is doing to us and the rest of the world. Everyone wants to talk about their fucking rights, but never their responsibilities. Freedom comes with responsibility, folks. It's time to adopt those responsibilities because the rest of the world is looking to us for help. Until every American stands up and at the very least speaks out instead of watching Sunday football or the Kardashians or whatever bullshit you watch instead of paying attention to politics and politicians, I'll be here chopping my wood for the winter. And yes, it's possible to love your country and hate your government.
Fucking men.
100% it is. We have
pro-America, anti-government.
Absolutely. We speak about that all the time.
I could watch him chop wood on repeat for hours. This is legit.
So there's a couple of things that I want to hit on there. Of course, the responsibilities thing, right? We have discussed that 1.5 million times on this show. The original intentions of the government, or the original intentions of the Bill of Rights, the way that they're written, for every right that is explained, that is carved out into that document, there's a corresponding responsibility. You have responsibilities as a human being. Once you become a member of this country, you have responsibilities as a member of this country. You have responsibilities as a man or a woman. You have responsibilities as a father, as a husband, as a brother, as a wife, as a sister, any of these things. They all come with responsibilities because they come with benefits. They come with additions to them, right? That's there is no free lunch. There's no biological free lunch, no governmental, no political free lunch.
Ain't no such thing as a free lunch, baby.
There are no solutions. There are only trade-offs, right? This is
Shout out Thomas Sowell.
This is a universal truth across all things.
Yes.
There do not come benefits without responsibilities, without consequences, right? So I love that that's part of what he comes at, because like we just talked about, people will cite the Constitution all day. Talk about my rights do this. You can't do this. My rights do this. Your rights don't do this. You have nothing without responsibility. If you are not upholding your responsibility, you have no rights. You have no protections. You don't get these benefits because you aren't doing your part. And that isn't as a human being as your rights go, because we define rights on this show differently than the country does, right? Than the government does. But
because the government by nature does not define our rights.
As far as your legal protections for rights in this country, they come with responsibilities. If you want the benefits of those rights, you have to uphold your end of those responsibilities, right? So my question, I think, from this would be, and I have it written down, so let me pull this up actually. Would be, do the citizens have any power in this country? And if we do, how do we exercise it? And what will be the obstacles there? Right? So I'll answer it so you can think for a second. My answer would be yes, we do have power in this country. We have willingly given it away for a very long time. We've handed it off to various parties, to the executive branch, the legislative branch, to our own state governments, because we didn't want to do the hard work. We didn't want the responsibility of upholding those things. So we asked other people to do it for them. Those are no longer rights at that point. They're privileges. You've given them away to somebody. When someone else is granting them to you, they aren't rights. Right? We've talked about they're privileges. My answer to how do we exercise that is something that we've talked about on the show a ton at this point, and I was thinking about this when we were talking about our constitutional question of whether or not it's outdated. Civil disobedience, right? That's with the red line, actually. It's because we have a a way more challenging time in the technological age setting and defending those red lines like we could in the Revolutionary era, that we have to uphold those things way more with civil disobedience, right? That we're having lines, but I'm not going to put it in the government's face about it, right? This isn't my line for violence. This is my line for what I'm willing to do and not willing to do. That's where the civil disobedience comes in. I've crossed my red line. I'm not doing this anymore, right?
Yeah, it's more of a local level, I think, impact at that point, right?
Yes. So civil disobedience that's my answer to that in the immediate, is that's how we exercise our freedoms and our power over this country, over the political leadership, is civil disobedience. I'm not paying this tax. I'm not conforming to this thing. I'm not exercising my right this way. I'm not going to mail and vote. I'm going to go to here, right? Whatever this means to you, that's what that means to me. And I talked to Jordan about that.
Because everybody's got their own things that they're going to do.
Yep. And civil disobedience, to give like a good kind of defined, a good definition for it, right? An easy rule of thumb is like a law that is in place that does not stop you from harming somebody or infringing on somebody else's rights is not a good law. This is a law that can be easily disobeyed civilly with really little to no moral question, depending on what the law is, right?
Yeah.
So the examples that we've given on this show a ton, the guns thing, right? We've talked about that a ton.
Here it comes.
This is the example.
That's the example.
This here, that, and I know some people, I got this vibe a little bit from Josh last week when I was telling him, like, this is federally illegal. Like, I don't do this because it's fucking cool, right? It's not cool. It's a stock. It doesn't take much money. It's a very cheap piece. It's not fucking cool. It doesn't make me a badass to have a stock on a short rifle, right?
Yeah.
My point in bringing this up to you is this is my line of civil disobedience. I will not follow this law. I will not obey this commandment. I will not do this because I'm not hurting anybody. This is not infringing on anybody else's rights. You are actively infringing on mine by emplacing this administrative rule, right? Because it's not a law. It's a fucking guideline that the ATF has handed down, right?
It's a de facto law.
Other great examples that we've given, the car tabs thing, right?
Yep.
I'm not re-registering my car to you every year. I will not pay you $200 so that you can give me a sticker to put on my car, because I have to tell you, if I want license plates for my new car, I have to register it. I have to, because you're the only one who gives out license plates. So if I want to get those, I have to register my new car.
Yep.
If I sell my car and I don't want somebody else's accident potentially on being my responsibility, I have to tell you I sold my car so that it's not my responsibility anymore.
Yep.
Right?
And that seems like basic property.
These are things I'm willing to do. I'm transferring property to somebody else. It's no longer mine, or now it's mine. I need to register this. Someone needs to know it's mine so that if something happens, there's document so that I can get this shit done, right?
That's like a basic property ownership situation.
Makes sense.
Yep.
I will not pay you taxes that we as people have voted against multiple times because you want me to. I'm not doing that. I refuse. And I'm more than willing, I've said on the show, more than willing to fucking tell that to any police officer who wants to pull me over because my tabs. I'm not doing this. This is absolute dog shit. It's an absolute infringement on my rights and as the people of this state.
Yep.
I will not do this, right?
We've shouted from the rooftops multiple times.
This is a very, very easy example of that. Okay. Another thing, I'm not going to call anybody out. Some people don't pay their taxes in general, who own businesses, things like that.
I know people
don't
that do that.
right?
Yep.
There's
whatever. I know multiple people that do that.
You are not harming anybody. You are being actively stolen from when you pay them more money, when you have to pay taxes to buy anything, to get gas, to buy food, to buy anything, to pay your bills, you're paying taxes.
Oh, yeah.
Anything that you purchase, you're paying taxes on.
Every time there's a transaction of currency, you're paying taxes.
To not allow the government to further steal from you is not wrong. There is no moral question here. You are not harming anybody. You are not infringing on anybody else's rights. You are, in fact, deterring someone from actively stealing from you.
Which seems like a moral act.
This is not a question of morals here. This seems like a very simple and quiet way that you can place a red line and move on. I'm not telling anybody to do anything. I'm not advocating for you to do anything. I don't think from a legal basis I can.
Hard no.
What I can say is that there's many different ways that people disobey civilly, and I think that it's a good idea to identify where your line is. And what I mean by that is your level of comfortability, right? Some people really uncomfortable with the idea of not paying taxes. That's totally fine. I'm not going to call you for a pussy for not doing that, right? I'm not in your position. I'm not in your place, right? Everybody's circumstances are different. What I'm saying is that if you want to try and take back the power that you have in this country, you have to exercise civil disobedience. You have to take it. You have to take it back. No one is giving it to you. No one is going to come and save you. No one is coming to help you. You have to do it yourself. And in the case of power for this, you have to take it back. And for what? So they can send it to another country instead of taking care of our own problems. Exactly.
Word.
100%. This is an extremely valid and 100% true point. For them to literally not spend any of the money on you. They're running a $2 trillion deficit on a federal level. They are not looking out for you. They are not taking care of you. They're actively inflating your money, raising your interest rates. Do you want to know something to be fucking beautiful?
Go ahead.
Listening to the 7 this week, right? It's the Washington Post morning show.
Okay.
They're talking about how Jerome Powell didn't raise interest rates this time. He halted them, but he might have to raise them. Who's the chair of the Fed, right? Of the Federal Reserve, just for anybody, I know you know, but so he didn't raise interest rates on this month's meeting, but the next time he might have to. And when they're saying it's because it's just not slowing down the economy like we want to which I interpreted, people just fucking won't stop spending money. Right? That's what that means. It's not slowing down the economy. People are still spending when we don't want them to.
Yeah. They say consumer spending is still through the roof.
Why would that be? Why? Why in the world won't you fucking quit spending money? Dear God, why won't you stop spending money? I don't know, because everything costs $9 million fucking dollars. I don't have a choice, bitch.
Yep.
I have no choice. You're inflating my dollars, and then I thought it was a fucking kid. And then raising my interest rates on a fucking monthly level. What the fuck do you mean? Why won't I stop spending?
Yep.
I have no choice, you fuck.
That's right. And don't listen to the bullshit inflation numbers that the administration touts, because that's a fucking lie.
It's dog shit.
Because it's a rigged system that they choose to use as a political tool.
They take out
to make
rent, food, housing costs.
All the things that cost all the money.
All the things that have gone up the most.
Yes. People aren't out there slanging big screen TVs or doing a bunch of bullshit purchases necessarily. Your basic cost of living has gone up 100% since they decided to let money printer go bar.
Yes.
100 over, and in some areas, way over 100%, particularly in food costs.
Yes.
Done. I mean, that is a perfect example of the government stealing from you.
Yes.
And then turning around and telling you they're still going to steal more of your fucking money.
And we'll talk later in the show when we talk about the aid for Ukraine, right? That like one of these things, or I think it was for Israel, Ukraine, doesn't matter, for one of these countries that the GOP, the new House Speaker, tried to tie this to, and did, because they passed it out of the House, tied this funding to pulling the money from the new IRS funding that you're sending, right? Only for the Congressional Budget Office, who's supposed to be nonpartisan, to come out and be like, actually, this is going to raise the deficit by $90 million because we're not going to be able to have as many agents who are fucking taking money from rich people.
Crystal Ball will tell you, like, well, they're going after the people. They're going to come after the rich tax cheats.
Yeah.
Like,
no. I bet.
No. Yeah.
So that's what they're saying, is not only is this not good that you're trying to not fucking deficit spend, it's going to make it worse because we're not going to be able to extract as much wealth from fucking rich people. Yeah. Isn't that dog shit? What are you talking about? What are you doing here?
That's so nuts.
What are we doing?
So
it's actually worse because we can't steal more money from the people. It's bad.
It's bad.
Yeah, but it's okay because they're the bad people. They have too much money, so it's okay. Fuck out of my face, dude.
It's disgusting, man.
Yeah, I'm not fucking here defending, multi-billionaires, but I'm not going to advocate for theft from anybody, even if you have, quote unquote, too much money from whatever arbitrary debt, like threshold we've put on it, And once you have $1 billion, it's too much, right?
It's too much, bro.
Do I think these people could probably give away a ton of their money? Yeah, they probably could. Yeah. Is it their responsibility? It's not.
We'll just say it's gotten so bad, at least in our particular state, that one of the richest men in the world, Jeff Bezos, is leaving and he's going down to fucking Miami.
Peacing out.
He looks like he's from Miami anyway. Yeah, he's going to fit in just fine.
Gonna wear those crazy shirts, get all tanned up, looking Cubano. He'll be happy.
Yeah, maybe he'll get some of them Ron DeSantis lift boots and grow a little bit taller. I think he's got enough money and power. He's not concerned how tall he is. So I'm not just going to echo everything you just said because I'm right there with you.
I talked a lot. I forgot I was answering the question.
Fine. It's fine because there's so much more to it than just that, right? That is a thing that everybody needs to do, and I think a lot of people do in their everyday lives and don't even really realize it. But what we also need to do is we need to find a way to dismantle or disrupt the system of political parties in this country. We need to remove the power that they currently have from them because we don't run this country. This is not a government by and for the people. This is a government by the political parties for the political parties. That's it. That's all that it is. And
100%.
We have to find a way to remove the power from them somehow. A lot of it has to do with money. And influence and, you know, everything from lobbying and all that shit. But the entire system built around the two parties in this country has to be dismantled. The power has to be removed. Because that's where everything happens.
That's where it's concentrated at, yeah.
Unless you're a big mover and shaker in one of the two parties, you can't get anything done. You can't actually make your voice heard. You have one vote in fucking 3.5 million. Congratulations, your vote means fucking nothing.
Yes.
You don't get to pick who the representation is going to be. The party picks for you. He might give you a couple choices, but at the end of the day, you get to pick from the parties their chosen acolytes to go out there. That's your choice. That's not a fucking free election system.
And
fuck
when
that.
someone you have picked, like RFK Jr. gets in, they change the fucking rules around to try and fuck you out of the candidate that you really want.
That's why, like, I think I mentioned it last episode, but I'm like not totally convinced that Donald Trump's going to be allowed to run for president.
Right.
Because the GOP doesn't really want him.
They don't want him.
He's caused so much fucking fracture in that party, and he only has like a small contingency of like super loyalists. The GOP doesn't fucking want him still around.
They've got to be
They're already not really in power anyways. They're not going to be in power next election anyways.
They're hoping that one of these legal cases removes his ability to run so they can be like, this is a terrible thing, but we have no choice.
Yeah, because
the shucks.
Yeah, dude.
Isn't
And we'll talk
the
about
worst?
it more later because like the polling is one-sided.
Yeah.
For sure. It's like the lesser-known Republican nominee debates that have been going on, like the people that call them that, because it doesn't fucking matter.
No.
Not at this point. But yeah, I think that's a major, major thing that has to happen. It has to happen before people can take their country back. And I don't know how you do that. It's got to do with money because that's how they get all their power anyway. So we got to find a way to do that. But that's definitely a way.
Let's talk more about that when we talk about 2024. Yes.